Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. So, if you copped a plea to a domestic violence criminal case, here's what I would do if you didn't commit domestic violence. If you didn't commit domestic violence, if you did, there's a bunch of hurdles you got to hop through and stuff like that. There's still an argument as to access and visitation to your kids in Washington. If they make a finding that you committed domestic violence under RCW 2609-191, subsection 2B, I think it is, it's mandatory they put restrictions on your visitation. Those restrictions could be no overnights, at first take some DV class, or it could be supervised visitation, whatever. But if you copped a plea in a criminal case, first of all, let me say this. If every dad or man who was falsely accused of domestic violence took their case to trial, they would have to dismiss 90% of the cases. And then the burden would, on the 10% of the cases, the burden would be upon them to prove it, that you actually did it in the first place. So if you didn't do it, you got a good chance of them not having any evidence. But if everybody took their case to trial, but see, everybody is isolated in their own little case thinking, oh crap, if I take this to trial, I'm not going to get the plea deal that I wanted. They're going to give me probation and just take an anger management class and it falls off. Think about it. If they're going to give you a plea deal that says, and this is so obvious, they don't really believe you're a domestic violence perpetrator. They say, oh, take your class where you guys sit around and watch Oprah a couple times a week for 5 weeks and you're going to be cured of domestic violence. They don't even believe it. They just want to get their Joe Biden 1994 Violence Against Women Act bonus money from the federal government for getting a conviction. The prosecutor's offices usually get matching funds. That's when they prosecute a man for domestic violence. It's called the Violence Against Women Act. So they get federal money to bonus money when they put men away for committing domestic violence or child abuse. Even though 60% of child abusers, according to government statistics, are women, and the biological mother, I believe, specifically, that makes the man the less risk because you got uncles and cousins and other people and daycare workers who abuse kids. So the biological father is like last on the list, but they're the ones who get presumed that they committed it. You should have seen Joe Biden when 20 years when the Violence Against Women Act was about to expire. He basically said, if you can find the videos, he's like, why are we even debating this? This is like the Civil Rights Act or something. Why are we even debating this? He goes, there's people who said that if we pass this law, women will continue to lie about domestic violence and abuse domestic violence as leverage in a custody battle. And he was like, please. And he said the word, I specifically remember, he said, bizarre. That's so bizarre. Like, you guys are so stupid. Why would you think of something that stupid? He's so out of touch, like any other politician, with reality. He doesn't know what goes on in family court. So, and I knew somebody in the early 2000s that said he basically got paid, which Joe Biden admitted in a couple of videos, like I was willing to prostitute myself when I got into politics. He admitted that like 40 years ago as a politician. No matter what side you're on, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, whatever. I don't give a crap. I'm telling you what one politician said on record, okay? And they're all like that for the most part, except for a very few. So that being said, the prosecutor gets bonus money when the prosecutor prosecutes a man for domestic violence. That's why in my case, my ex-girlfriend violated my domestic violence protection order 5 times and she was not prosecuted. It's a mandatory arrest if there's evidence that there might be probable cause that there might be domestic violation. I had 4 text messages and a court admission to a 5th violation. A phone call, 3 text messages. So I had blatant stuff, and one of them she's cussing me out. The other one she's harassing my daughter who still lives with me, third-party contact. They did not prosecute her. It's mandatory arrest. An officer has to arrest her if he sees that evidence. The officers didn't even forward the evidence to the prosecutor except one of the 4 violations. And that's what I hounded the city council for. I'm still protesting my city. I will continue to protest them. They passed it along to the county prosecutor. They said, under the totality of circumstances, they're not going to prosecute. The totality of what? Because she tried to get a retaliatory domestic violence protection order against me. They don't believe me or something. So I'm going to be suing King County prosecutor, King County in general. I'm going to be suing the city of Federal Way for not protecting me. I'm going to be suing the city of Renton. And I'm also going to be suing the Gender and Justice Commission because they created a law that empowered a false accuser because she dragged me into court. And, I have a lawsuit against her right now, whether I'm going to follow through with it or not, that she abused the process. So that was a little bit of a tangent, but, some people think that I'm out of touch and I haven't experienced the same thing you have. I've been dragged in and out of family court for 20 years, off and on. And I'm the custodial parent. And I was told, the mother told the court, James is in court so much, I don't think he's caring for our kid. My baby's mom abandoned my daughter for 1.5, 3, 5, and 7 years straight. And we didn't know where she was. She wasn't contacting her daughter. And she has the nerve to say, I'm not spending enough time with my kid after she abandoned our kid. So, and I've been dragged in court. I was thrown in jail for 8 days for a contempt that I was never given notice of. I was arrested for not showing up in court, but I never got notice. The judge emailed me an old email address, working as the personal legal secretary and process server for the mother. Judge James Edwin Rogers of King County, punk ass bitch, who I protested several times in his neighborhood. Arrogant, self-righteous, condescending prick, graduated Seattle Prep, this aristocrat, bougie, bragging that he went to Africa and then did some work in his Catholic church as a missionary, or he did some helping some starving kids. And he said he went there and he's like, wow, these people are just like us, like they're really human and stuff, and basically gave away his own aristocrat mentality. Anyway, if I cop a plea, here's the big diamond or jewel that I would use. When I go to family court, I'm going to tell them, when I copped a plea to domestic violence, my stupid ass public defender and my punk ass sellout attorney, they told me to cop a plea even though I'm innocent because I'm going to get railroaded. And they didn't even try. They didn't do a deposition on the mother or my accuser. I'm going to cite Timothy Sandifer, or it's Timothy Lynch, the case for plea bargaining, where there was a debate between Timothy Sandifer and Timothy Lynch. You guys should all look at it. And they debated whether plea bargaining was constitutional or not. And it's not, because you waive your right to a jury trial and you waive your right to an appeal, which are constitutional rights. How do you waive your right? Do you waive your right to freedom of religion or freedom of speech or freedom of whatever? No, you don't. Timothy Sandifer, in defense of plea bargaining, he's defending the plea bargaining system, saying we need plea bargaining because the prosecutors would be overwhelmed, so we need to help them efficiently put people away. That's the state's problem and the state's burden. We don't have to help them make their job easier. That's their problem. Timothy Sandifer, or is it? Yeah, he can go to hell, punk ass bitch. So, but in his opening paragraph, he says prosecutors lie, manipulate the system, use loopholes, intimidate first-time offenders, guys who never got a ticket and they're scared to death to go to jail, and they use tactics to intimidate. He admits to prosecutorial misconduct. Prosecutors lying, cheating, and stealing to get somebody to cop a plea. He admits that. So I would go in there and cite a case, and I would also say I copped an Alford plea pretty much. Alford plea is when you plea and you say that I'm copping a plea, I'm not admitting to guilt, but I'm worried that the evidence is prejudicial toward me and the jury might find me guilty even though I'm not admitting to guilt. So I'm going to cop a plea to this. So I would say in family court, when I copped a plea to that domestic violence, I pretty much copped an Alford plea. And I was railroaded, and the prosecutors bullied me and strong-armed me and abused the system against me, just like Timothy Sandifer admitted, and attached his paper to your exhibits defending yourself and say, I didn't commit domestic violence, and the mother lied. And then get James's packet defending against a restraining order. Look at all the citations of all the lawyers, judges, and investigators that say that women lie about domestic violence all the time. and the Bar Association decided. Or Google this stuff, false allegations of domestic violence, and there's a link in my bio also, and use that.